morning, everybody. This is Rachel. Thanks for clicking on my video. And y'all, I know today is Super Bowl Sunday. So I came in to talk to you about that and tell you my feelings about Super Bowl. And I must start off by saying, forgive me, y'all, but I hate sports and I hate football more than anything. Now, the funny thing about it is I grew up with two brothers, so I completely understand everything about football because my brothers made it their business to teach me everything. Now, when we were growing up, we had the typical home back in the 70s and 80s where there was one television for the adults and one television for the kids. And we always had to vote on what we wanted to watch because there were four of us. It was myself, my two brothers, and I have a little sister. Well, my little sister was so young, she didn't know what she wanted to watch, so she just went along with the crowd. So it would be me against my two brothers, and my sister sometime would fall in with them. So the choice when football was coming on or any type of sports, if we voted, then I would lose and we would end up watching football. Now, over the years, I have been with men that were sports fanatics and been with men who are not. But I'm going to tell you guys about a time where I dated this guy and he was really into sports. Now, I have always admired and kind of envied those women that do get into sports. I have a friend right now who knows more about football than some men. She just loves sports and there's no two ways about it. I, on the other hand, is, a little different. So I was dating this guy, and I was going over his house on Super Bowl Sunday. He invited me over. So my plan was to, cook little wings and little finger foods that we could eat while we watched the Super Bowl. Now, I was over there all day. There was all this football on television. So all day we were watching what I thought was the Super Bowl. He was in front of the television. He had on his little jersey. He was yelling and stuff at the TV. So all the while I'm like in the kitchen making little, finger foods, as I said. And I was like, oh, this is not so bad. I can go back and forth in and pretend like I'm interested, just so he would think that I'm being supportive of something he liked. So I'm just bustling back and forth, you know, all day. And then at one point, he went upstairs, and when he came back down, he had on a different jersey. He had gotten in his little reclining chair, his favorite chair in his living room, and he was telling me, okay, now you got to really be quiet. You can't bother me. So I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, well, the Super Bowl is about to come on. And I said, well, what was that we have been watching all day, And he said, well, Rachel, that wasn't the Super Bowl. That was highlights from previous games. And now the real game is about to come on. Y'all, I had endured like 5 or 6 hours of football by then. And I was like, just totally at my limit of football for that day. So I was like, oh my God. And I started talking to him as the game came on. I was like, you mean to tell me we've been sitting here all day watching freaking highlights from other games? That wasn't the real football game? And so this man was like, no, girl, and if you don't shut up, you can leave right now. So I'm sitting there like, is he telling me to get out of his house? So I was like, I asked him, I said, are you putting me out? You making me go home? Child, no, this man did not say you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here. I couldn't do nothing but laugh, y'all. That was the woman in me. I was like, all, incensed. Child, I went and got my coat and I said, hell with him. And, when I walked out the door, well, stumped out the door, I was mad as hell because This man had literally put me out of his house over some damn football and the fucking Super Bowl game. So as I'm driving, home, because he lived on one side of town and I lived on the other side of town, I got to thinking about it, y'all. And I was like, Rochelle, you need to quit. Get out your feelings. You know, men love sports and all that. And you are raging mad just because this man wanted to watch the game. You need to, let it go and just get with the program. Men are into sports. So when I got home, I called him and he didn't answer the phone. So I had left this long message about how I apologize. I understand that, I'm just a woman that is not into sports and blah, blah, blah. I'm leaving this long message. Now, the boy ain't called me back to halftime, y'all. I guess he was like, I can't talk to her right now. The game is on. So he called me back at halftime. He explained, I did see your message, but I figured that you would get into a long-winded conversation, so I didn't call you back to halftime. And he was like, I accept your apology. I know you just don't like sports and blah blah blah. So we talking, and then right in the middle of one of my sentences, he was like, "Whoop, got to go," and he was like, "The game is back on." Child, the man hung up on me right in the middle of a sentence. But I just find all of this Super Bowl hype, and I'm not going to call it hype because there are thousands, if not millions, of people that love football and love sports, period. And like I said, it's not that I don't understand it, because I do. I think the only type of sports game that I could actually sit through, and that is probably basketball. And maybe the reason why is because it moves fast, it's not all slow, and you completely can get into it. At least I can. Football, on the other hand, is so slow to me, and I just don't like it, y'all. And like I said at the beginning of my video, I admire and envy my friends who are totally into it. My girlfriends, like, they'll have Super Bowl parties and everyone will be over there. And I've gone to some. I've even gone to, we had a local hotel here that would do Super Bowl family parties. They had a club, like a little bar within the hotel. And on Super Bowl Sunday, they would invite families. And, there would be the bar area. They would have a lot of food. They would allow the kids to play in the pool. And it was really fun because at that type of Super Bowl setting, you don't have to basically, really be watching the game because there's music playing, there's other people around. And I could get with that, y'all, because the focus wasn't so much on the football. The men would be glued to the big screen television that the hotel has set up. And then the women would be milling around, gossiping, and you got kids running around, and that type of setting I could get with. But when it was just me at home with my man, and he is glued in front of that television, y'all, and he don't want you to talk to him, look at him, just put some food on the table and get out the room. Child, I was like, I can't do it. So again, I admire my friends that really get into it. My one girlfriend that I talked about that um, knows as much about football as the average guy. Y'all, on Super Bowl Sunday or any football Sunday, she has on her gear. She has made, food to support her team. She has her house all decorated. And when I go over there, sometimes I just sit back in amazement because I'm like, she is really into this. Y'all, I'm so sorry, but I do not like football. I do not like baseball. I do not like any of that stuff. Like I said, I can get with basketball, but football, y'all, is so slow. So this Super Bowl Sunday, ladies out there, are there any of you who are like me? I tried to like it, y'all. I tried to get into it for the different men that I've had in my life, but I just can't do it. I can't do it. And when I think about it, it's funny to me because I am the stereotypical woman when it comes to sports. I sit and I have sat, or stood, I should say, and watched a man that I love watch sports, and I want to go over there and slap him in the head. I don't know why, because they are so intent on that game. I even remember riding with my brother one time, and he was listening to a sports radio program, and I think it was football, no, baseball that was playing. And I was trying to talk to him, and he literally told me to shut up. I was sitting there thinking, no, he didn't. He can pull over and let me out, telling me to shut up. But it's just funny. And I wanted to ask the ladies out there, are there any of you out there that is like me? You just can't get into it. No matter how hard you try, and you want to be supportive of your man because they get into stuff that we like. We drag them along shopping. We're in the store looking at maybe a comforter for about 2 hours, explaining the threads in it and the pattern and all that. And we got a man standing there looking at us like, Lord, if this woman don't come on. We drag them to, our hair appointments with us, and they're patient. And, so we should get into the things that they like. It's just that Rachel is not one of those women. And I'm so sorry. So, ladies, leave down in the comment section your feelings on football, baseball, basketball. Are there any women out there like me? Or are all of you ladies into sports and I'm just the eyeball out and I need to get with the program? So with that, everyone, enjoy your Super Bowl Sunday. I hope you are eating all kinds of great snacks. I hope you are enjoying your day, and I hope you enjoy all the commercials in the Super Bowl, while they're showing it. And I actually hope you enjoy the game. But Rachel will be on every other show other than the Super Bowl today. So with that, everyone, thank you for watching my video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye now.